Prop 19. It's a new law in California. We want to talk about the savage impact of Prop 19 on special needs planning. I think this is the issue. It's homelessness. Look at the streets of San Francisco and how many people with mental illness are roaming the streets. We have clients who spent years getting their son off the streets of San Francisco. It took a Herculean effort to get him back off the streets. But what if you're gone and there's no home available? The odds of homelessness or problems are just beyond challenging and scary. You don't need me to argue that home prices are going up and that housing is extraordinarily expensive. Prices are going up, interest rates are high. So if you're lucky enough to hold or already own property and you want to leave it for your child with special needs or their special needs trust, you need to be aware of Prop 19, this massive change in California law. Mike?
I think the first thing to understand is that Prop 19 amended the California Constitution. And that's very important because it means that the legislature can't address it. The legislature can't fix it. It would take another voter initiative. And we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. So by way of background, we're all familiar with Proposition 13, right? It rolled back property taxes. Everybody loved it. Good for elders, et cetera, et cetera. After Prop 13, we have Prop 58. And it's important to mention that because it is Prop 58 that our new proposition gutted. Prop 58 said two things. At first, it said that your home, your residence, could be passed along to your kids without a property tax increase, carrying over the Prop 13 level, whether or not your kid lived in it. So the property taxes would not go up, period, regardless of value. It also said that another $1 million in assessed value in real property could also be passed along to your kids without a property tax increase. So you could have a home worth $2 million, assessed value $400,000. It would also be passed along without a property tax increase. That could be a rental. It could have been a vacation home. Okay, then comes Prop 19, and it guts all of that. It eliminates those benefits and those protections. So we have one approach taken for the residents and another for rental property. So let's look at the primary residence first. Notwithstanding what some published articles said, it is not the case that the property tax increase is avoided if your child makes your residence his or her residence. There is a partial break there, but it's only partial. So here is the bottom line on the residence. If a child makes the residence his or her residence, and they have to take a number of steps to establish that, the first $1 million in assessed value is forgiven. So if you're paying $5,000 a year and now the property is worth $3 million, if your child moves in, the new assessed value would be $2 million because the first $1 million is forgiven. Property taxes would still increase to about $24,000 a year. So it's not a complete level of protection. And sometimes there's no child who's going to be able to move in. As importantly, and sometimes more importantly, if it's not the residence, there are no protections whatsoever, none whatsoever. In the context of special needs planning, how many folks are thinking of your residence being there for your child? How about you who might have a small rental property or a duplex you bought for your child or a condo, and the vision was that your child would live there and it would be in the special needs trust? Well, now that's going to have a property tax increase. So it can be devastating. It can eliminate the ability of your child to retain ownership of your property because the property taxes are set, because the hit is so big as we go forward, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right, and you can leave real estate to a special needs trust. So same impact with this if you're leaving it to a special needs trust. And we get this question too: will Prop 19 be repealed? Because a lot of people are trying to work on that, and I think the answer is, at least for the next few years, no, it's not. Yeah. There have been 2 attempts to do it, and they've come far short.
A couple of quick points. And we have to realize that the vast majority of Californians are not really going to be harmed by Prop 19. Either they don't own real property, they're renters, or maybe they own a residence and it's worth $1.1 million or less, which is the case in large swaths of the state of California. Mm-hmm. And if their child moves in, there's no property tax increase. So it's an issue for those of us who live around here where property values are more substantial, which I think is why they were unsuccessful in getting the signatures needed to get it on the ballot. Also realize there's a lot of interests that love Prop 19. It was the Realtors Association that spent $39.5 million of the $42 million spent to support Prop 19. More homes are being sold because people can't afford to keep them. So realtors, of course, have a logical interest in more property sales. Maybe we all do.
Yeah, well, unions, California public employees unions, firefighters, teachers. It's going to be billions of extra dollars to the state of California. Have you ever heard of any tax increase that the California government, at least, and unions didn't like? I mean, we had a massive budget deficit this year. I think you would see massive money going in to fight any repeal efforts, even if it made the ballot. Now, we can't predict the future, but as I talked about before, hope is not a strategy. Do not rely on California voters to bail you out if this is an issue. Take action. We're going to talk about what you can do in just a moment. I also think like the house is not just a structure, it's the home. People grow up in their home. We have a lot of people who they're not high net worth. They just happen to have grown up in Los Altos or Palo Alto or West Los Angeles or San Diego, and maybe their child is a teacher and they live there their whole life and they just want to stay in mom and dad's home. That's it. And they just want to save it. This isn't even really about taxes. It's just about the ability to stay in your family home. And especially if you have a child with special needs, maybe that's their comfort zone. Maybe that's where they feel most at home and most themselves. So it's so important. And I just want to tell a quick story to illustrate the issue. So calling us too late. We are now known pretty well across the state of California as Prop 19 planners because we have a lot of videos. One of our videos has been seen over 160,000 times. And we get a lot of calls from people about Prop 19, some of whom we can help, some of whom we can't. I got a call a couple months ago from a woman. She was a teacher and her parents had passed away her mom had passed away a year before. Her dad had already passed away a few years before that. She inherited the house in Mountain View. The house was worth about $3.1 million. It wasn't a big house. It was just a normal ranch style home. She just wanted to stay there. She didn't know about Prop 19. She inherited the house, thought everything was good. Then she got a tax bill in the mail. It was a supplemental bill for over $28,000. She did not have $28,000. All she got from her parents was the house. They were just a middle-class family that happened to own a house in a good area. And she frantically was calling saying, hey, I know you guys know Prop 19. What can we do? Like, what can we roll this back? Can we fix this? And my answer was no. There's really not anything we can do. Your mom passed away already. It's already your house. Maybe you can get the $1 million in protection, but we cannot roll back the taxes to where they were before. Once they go up, they will not come back down because she called us too late. If her mom had called us while she was still living, there were a lot of steps we could take. We'll briefly go over what you can do. I think the big picture is you need to plan ahead. While mom and dad are still around and while they have capacity, if they take steps ahead of time, we can keep the taxes low where they are. But once a parent loses capacity or once they pass away, it is extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible. So I want to share some numbers just to really hit home how massive this problem is. Because sometimes when we go to these numbers, it strikes me that Prop 19, at least for property owners, represents the largest tax increase in California history. Here's why. Let's talk about an example. Let's say there's a $3.3 million home. Now I know that's only in certain areas of California is that the norm, but a lot of California it is. West LA, San Diego, Orange County, Bay Area. There's a lot of fairly normal homes worth over $2 or even $3 million. Let's say that the assessed value when mom and dad were alive was $300,000 and the house is worth $3.3 million. Let's say the children inherit it and one of them lives there. So they get the $1 million in protection. So property taxes go up from about $3,300 a year to over $25,000 per year. That's with the $1 million protection. Now let's look at these numbers over a number of years. This is not just a 1-year increase. This is the increase forever going forward. And then there's 2% increases every year. So over 5 years, that's over $114,000. Over 20 years, over $500,000. Over 30 years, almost $900,000 in extra property taxes. And keep in mind, you can only deduct the first $10,000 in property taxes from your income taxes. So for your child to pay an extra $892,000 in property taxes, they would probably have to earn an extra $1.5 million in income over the 30 years just to hold on to the same home if you don't plan. If you plan, we can stop that. We can help you prevent that. Let's give an example. If the house is not a primary residence, or if the child doesn't move in, or if it's a rental, same numbers, $2.3 million home, $300,000 assessed value, the numbers are even bigger. So they go up from $3,300 a year, annual taxes, to over $36,000 per year. Over 10 years, $360,000. Over 30 years, almost $1.34 million in extra property taxes. I mean, they would have to earn almost $2 million in extra income. That's a lifetime of earning for many people just to hold on to the same house. So the tax increases are incredible. And if you leave a property to a special needs trust, well, the special needs trust is responsible for paying the taxes. So just think about the difference of $2 million or $1.5 million has to go to the state of California in property taxes versus what it could do to support your child if you keep the taxes low. Let's set a meeting. Let's review your plan. If you haven't, we invite you to join our client community. Reach out to us at gilfix.com or 650-493-8070. Easy to find us. Set that planning meeting. Let's review it. The stakes are too high to leave this to chance. If you haven't subscribed to our Gilfix Law YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Easy to find us. We're up to about 3,000 subscribers at the time of this. Hopefully by the time you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be even more. But if you are watching this on YouTube, like, comment, share, leave a question or comment for us if you have any questions. Talk to us if you're not sure. Just talk to us. A little bit of planning can have massive impacts on the future.